Welcome to this premium explainer for the global issues daily. Today, we're looking way past the daily headlines to uncover a massive demographic mystery, one that literally dictates the global balance of power, economics, and honestly, our shared environment. Let's get right into it. So consider this absolutely staggering reality for a second. 1.47 billion people currently live in India. It just recently surpassed China to become the most populous nation on Earth. But the truly wild metric is this. Nearly 1/5 of the entire human race lives on a mere 2% of the world's landmass. Naturally, when you see a concentration of humanity that dense, it leads to a pretty common assumption that the country is just severely overpopulated. And that incredibly dense concentration naturally begs the question, why there? Usually we hear things like poverty or a lack of education blamed for this massive number. People point to socioeconomic factors, assuming, that poorer families naturally have more earners, which leads to explosive growth. But to truly understand the forces at play here, we have to look past those modern socioeconomic tropes and look deep into the Earth itself. Section 1, the geographic engine, how land dictates demography. You see, human density isn't just some modern phenomenon or a policy failure. It is fundamentally dictated by geography. Throughout human history, populations haven't just grown randomly, they've exploded precisely where the land allowed them to. And the absolute core of this engine? The Indo-Gangetic Plain. This right here is the world's largest continuous piece of fertile plain. We're talking a massive 700,000 square kilometer expanse, stretching from Pakistan straight through northern India all the way over to Bangladesh. Today, this single strip of land houses 11% of the global population. The creation of this plain was violent and honestly monumental. Think back roughly 50 million years ago. The Indian tectonic plate crashed into Eurasia, pushing up the highest mountains on Earth, the Himalayas. At the base of these brand new mountains, a deep depression formed. Over the next 1.7 million years, melting snow and incredibly powerful rivers deposited sediment, rocks and soil right into this depression. And the result? A massive accumulation of alluvium. This is a highly fertile, soft soil that is just an absolute paradise for agriculture. This unique geology granted the region what we can essentially call a triple geographic benefit. First off, you have this vast, rich soil. Second, an endless water supply fed by 10 major snow-fed rivers, including heavyweights like the Ganga, Brahmaputra, and Indus. And third, those towering Himalayas act as a massive natural wall. They completely block the freezing dry winds coming down from Central Asia, keeping the plains warm enough to grow crops all year round. They also trap the monsoon winds, creating a highly predictable rainy season. This incredible combination meant that for thousands of years, farmers here could reliably grow 2, even 3 crops a year, practically eliminating the historical risk of famine. Section 2, a global pattern. Rivers, fertility, and human density. Now you might be thinking this is just a local anomaly, right? Actually, no. Everywhere in the world, exceptionally fertile, well-watered land is the historical engine for massive human populations. India often comes to mind as the extreme example, sitting at an average density of 484 people per square kilometer. But look at the Netherlands. Built on the incredibly fertile river deltas of the Rhine, Meuse, and Scheldt rivers, the Netherlands actually sit at 531 people per square kilometer. So despite its global reputation for being overpopulated, India is actually less densely packed than the Netherlands. It just goes to show that good geography and water networks naturally sustain far more human life. But when we compare this to other famously fertile regions, like Egypt or China, scale matters immensely. Sure, Egypt's Nile Valley or the North China Plain are exceptionally fertile, but their total geographical footprint is so much smaller. The North China Plain is about 400,000 square kilometers, and the incredibly narrow Nile Valley is just 33,000 square kilometers. That severely limits their maximum carrying capacity when you compare it to the massive 700,000 square kilometers of the Indo-Gangetic Plain. And historical economic data paints a really clear picture of this. India's unparalleled geographical advantages meant it consistently held a larger share of the global population than even China from most of recorded history. Just to put that into perspective, back in the year 180, nearly 1 in 3 people on Earth lived in India. Even all the way up until the year 17 Indra, India consistently outpaced China in sheer human numbers. Section 3, the historical anomaly, an artificial interruption. So if India's geography always supported the largest population on the planet, why on earth did China surpass it over the last century? Well, the answer lies in an artificial and deeply deadly interruption. During British rule, exploitative policies and the massive exportation of Indian grain led to a series of devastating famines. Between 1770 and 1947, an estimated 30 to 35 million people died. To put that tragedy into perspective, that's a death toll roughly 4 times higher than the casualties of World War I. This artificial suppression essentially broke the natural demographic prosperity of the region for a time. But following independence in 1947, the region was free from those colonial extraction policies. The introduction of modernized agriculture during the Green Revolution in the 1960s rapidly unlocked its geographic potential once again. I mean, crop yields skyrocketed so fast that by 1968 they literally had to store surplus grain in schools and theaters. Consequently, the population rebounded at an astonishing rate, doubling between 1947 and 1981, as the sheer numbers rushed to match the carrying capacity of that incredible geography once again. Section 4. Stabilizing the numbers, the natural decline. Now, because of that rapid 20th century rebound, a narrative totally took hold that India's population was exploding, completely out of control. But today, that narrative is highly outdated. Thanks to widespread improvements in education, healthcare access, and rising literacy rates, India's current total fertility rate has dropped significantly. It actually sits at just 1.9 children per woman right now. This is a vital metric to understand because the standard replacement level, meaning the rate needed just to keep a population stable without growing, is 2.1. So what does this data definitively tell us? It tells us that the population is naturally stabilizing on its own. In fact, United Nations projections estimate that India's population will finally hit its peak around the year 2060. And after that, because of those lower fertility rates we just talked about, the total population will actually begin steadily declining. Section 5. The climate threat. A blessing turning into a curse. So while the fear of endless overpopulation might be naturally resolving itself, a much darker cloud is gathering. The real crisis here isn't the number of people. It's that the geographical engine sustaining them is under severe, unprecedented threat. Climate change is actively dismantling the Indo-Gangetic Plains lifelines as we speak. Just look at these environmental red flags. Himalayan glaciers are melting 65% faster than they were just a decade ago. We're currently seeing the lowest snow persistence in the mountains in 23 years. On top of all that, the highly predictable monsoons that farmers have relied on for millennia, they've become dangerously erratic, causing millions of acres of crop failures in recent years. And as surface water becomes completely unreliable, underground water levels are being rapidly depleted just to compensate. The highest levels of global leadership are sounding the alarm on this. The United Nations Secretary General has issued a dire warning about this exact phenomenon, clearly stating that as these snowcaps melt away, the essential water levels in the Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra rivers will fundamentally decrease. Remember, these aren't just rivers, they are the literal lifelines for nearly 2 billion people, and they are quietly drying up. We have to leave you with this critical thought. India's massive population is a direct testament to the greatest geographical engine on Earth. But as climate change accelerates and this ancient engine begins to fail, what happens to the billions of people who depend on it? Will India's greatest historical blessing become its most devastating modern curse without immediate sweeping climate action? Thank you so much for exploring this with us today. If you found this explainer valuable, please subscribe and like for more in-depth premium analysis from the Global Issues Daily. See you next time!